live on IG. Hello, everybody out there. How are you guys doing today? Hello. All right, this is a beautiful Thursday afternoon here in sunny California. For those of you who are on this side of the coast and everyone else, hopefully you guys are having a wonderful weather, or at least have, comfortable enough so everyone can be fine. All right, guys, Elaine here, CEO PROBY'S Tax and Accountant. Again, with our Thursday afternoon session. And, we're having a lot of these sessions again. We're constantly going to have these because they've been so helpful. I've gotten a lot of feedback from folks that these sessions are very, very helpful. And all the people who have started their business or who wants to start their business is really benefiting from these conversations. And I've gotten excellent feedback from folks and more people who go back and actually look at these videos. So it's been helping out, which is exactly what we want. So today we want to talk about their business structure and why it matters. And I'm going to really make this very simple because we are going to have this in more detail in our workshop. But again, because this is always a question, because this is always an area, and there are people constantly on a daily basis is forming new businesses and is trying to figure out what they need to do. And again, it comes to me on my desk, of course, because people have to file their taxes, and for the most part, they need to know what they're doing exactly. Sometimes they haven't even filed these new businesses that they started because they may not even be aware that they should be filing taxes on a new business if they didn't do any business when they started it, right? So we have so many things happening because a lot of people are still a little confused, and this is one of the reasons why I love to be on here to explain some of this stuff, right? So, hey, Womi, thanks for jumping in. Thanks for jumping in, guys over here. Hey, Rod Smith, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. So today we want to talk about your business structure and why it matters. This is super important. You guys hit like and share on this video. Very, very important stuff. And again, a lot of people get confused. So they form these businesses and they're not always sure what it is that they should be doing and how it's going to affect them. So we want to talk about 3 different points why your business structure matters. When we say business structure, what we mean by that is how your business is formed and how it's set up and how it's operated, right? The operational structure of your business. And that has to do with whether you formed a corporation or whether it's a sole proprietor or whatever that is. So that's the business structure. That's what we're talking about and why that matters. And there's a lot of different aspects that we're going to cover. A few of them real quick as to why that really matters. Okay, so the first point today, guys, why your business structure matters. Let's talk about the management structure. That's the first point today, the management structure. So everybody knows once you form your business, right, someone has to be in control. So if you're a sole proprietor, you're the only one there, you are in control of all the decisions making. You are in control of whether the business, if you want to continue, if you wanted to close it, if you wanted to expand it, whatever those decisions are, you're the only person in the business. So you make all those decisions, right? So your management structure matters, number one point today, because if you are the only person in the business as a sole proprietor, you make every decision. Now, if there's a problem, you have to talk to yourself. You have to decide how you're going to deal with it, and then you got to handle it, right? This is a sole proprietor. If you are a partnership or any other type of business structure, a partnership, an LLC, a corporation, now you have other people involved in the business, right? It's not just you anymore. So you may have one partner, you may have several partners, you could have 50 partners. Same with a corporation, you have partners in the corporation, they're called, maybe you have shareholders. Some of those folks are not even in the management level, but you have shareholders, and sometimes there's shareholder meetings that you got to answer to some of these folks. So there's other people involved now. So your whole management structure changes because you're no longer allowed to make all the decisions. You're no longer allowed to know that a contract is worth taking. You're going to sign on a contract, or you're going to sign for a loan and have more liability in the company. You can't do this by yourself anymore. There are people involved in your business that you have to confer with. You have to have a meeting. People have to vote on it before you can make those steps. So this is why your business structure matters. All the decision of the business, once you're no longer operating as a sole proprietor, it has to go through other folks, your other partners, your other shareholders, your other stockholders. Okay, so this is why your business structure matters. And so this is the first point today, guys. We want to make sure that you guys understand this. It's very important when you start the business, what the structure is going to be. No, your structure can change, right? It can change. And I always say this because you're not stuck with it. If you start off as a sole proprietor, you can turn around and, either have a partnership, get someone else involved, or you can form an LLC or turn it into a corporation. So it can change. You are not stuck with your business structure. However, it's very important. And when you guys hear these other points that I'm going to make, then you will have a great idea as to why it's very important and it truly really matters. Okay, so the first point, your management structure has to be right, has to be in place, and it makes a lot of difference as to how decisions are being made within the company, right? First point. Second point today, and this is where it really gets very, very, very crucial. Hey, Karen, thanks for jumping in. Hi, Margie. Good afternoon, Elaine. Hey, Lauren, I love your hearts. Love your hearts. All right. Okay, so the second point, guys, this is where it gets real crucial. What happens is the liability. That's the one that gets super serious, right? Every business has some form of liability, no matter what that is. There's some form of liability. Some businesses, of course, more than others, depending on what that business is, there's more liability exposure, right? If you are, if people are able to sue you easier because incidents are more apt to occur based on your business, right? The liability, there's more liability exposure there. So the seriousness of your business structure. If you are a sole proprietor, you are the only person in the business, you're operating as a sole proprietor. If you are a partnership, the business liability, guys, flows to you as the owner. So if someone was to sue, if there's some liability, you could be responsible as the sole proprietor or as a partner in that business. Your assets could be at stake, okay? So there is no liability protection when you're operating as a sole proprietor or when you're operating as a partnership. There's no liability protection there because, they're not considered a separate entity. It is still just you operating as a business, right? You guys get that? You operating as a business. So if there's something goes wrong, you are totally responsible. Your partners are responsible, right? And your assets could be at stake, right? Depending on how much liability is at stake here, your assets could be seized and, could be sold and could pay off these debts, right? This is why your business structure seriously matters, especially against the liability. So when you're operating as a sole proprietor and or a partnership, you as the sole proprietor or the partners involved can be personally liable for anything that happens within that business. Okay, you are it. All right, so that is why your structure matters. Now, if you operate as a corporation, right? The corporation is a separate entity from yourself. The corporation operates on its own. You and the corporation is not one. They are completely responsible for the liability of their, of the business, and any suits or lawsuits or anything that happens, the corporation is responsible, right? So you are one person, the corporation is another person. It's considered two different things. So you are protected. So if you have a corporation, guys, something goes wrong, there's liability there, the corporation is responsible. It doesn't flow through to the shareholders. It doesn't flow through to you as the officers. It completely sticks with the corporation. This is why, depending on what kind of business you're in, it's very important. That structure is very important as to how you want to operate, okay? So then we'll talk more about that in our workshop, but I don't want to make it any more complicated, but just keep in mind that a corporation is a totally separate entity from you as the person. It's liable for its own debts and its own lawsuits and anything else that happens, right? It's totally not you anymore. So we'll talk about what that does further. Again, like I said, I don't want to make it too complex because people are already a little bit confused about this. And one thing I do want to say, let me go back to that sole proprietor, because I know a lot of people get a little nervous because of the liability factor. But one thing that I wanted to point out there, guys, you could put in place, you can get some type of liability insurance. that will assist you if in fact you do have to face, you're faced with any type of liability, then you have to pay. So there's some liability insurance to at least protect you there a little bit financially. So I just wanted to point that out. I didn't say that in the first point. Okay, so hey, Laverne, thank you for jumping in. Harrison's up around and say hello, hello. Hello, teacher. I love that. Hi, sis. How are you? Okay, so thank you guys for jumping in, right? Hit like and share on this video. This is some great stuff. Again, we're all into some type of business, even if you're operating by yourself. Very important. So the third point today, guys, I don't want to make this too long, is the fees and taxes. We are talking about why your business structure matters, right? Fees and taxes. So there's different types of fees based on what type of structure you are operating as a sole proprietor, whether it's a corporation, those fees are more expensive. So there's different type of fees. As far as the taxes goes, guys, the IRS does not see sole proprietors or partnership as a separate entity, as we mentioned earlier in the liability factor. So the profits or the losses of those businesses flows through to the partners. So you as the partner, as a sole proprietor, pays the taxes for those businesses. So those businesses does not pay the IRS income taxes because they're not considered a separate entity. The IRS doesn't see it as a separate business. You got a business, you're operating a partnership or a sole proprietor, that's perfectly fine. And there's ways that you account for that on your personal taxes. However, the IRS does not see it as a separate entity. They don't pay their own taxes. All the profits or the losses from your partnership or your sole proprietor or your single member LLC, if you have one of those, comes to your personal taxes where you report it and you pay the taxes, okay? So that's why your business structure matters. Second point, if you have a corporation, because a corporation now is a separate entity, the IRS sees it as its own person, it pays its own taxes. So the profit of a corporation, the corporation pays its taxes, and the personal side where you are, you pay taxes on any dividend that comes to you or your W-2 if you're an employee of the corporation. That's how your taxes are structured, while the corporation pays its own taxes, okay? Now, a lot of people just putting this in there, they figure that a corporation, and you hear this sometimes, some of you guys out there may have heard this, where there's double taxation in corporation and all that stuff. Well, the truth of the matter is the corporation pays its own taxes. Now, when you as the owner, shareholders, pull out those profits, they come to you as dividends, which makes that money taxable to you on your personal taxes anyway. That's what they're talking about. However, there's a lot of flexibility in when and how you distributed those profits. So you have an option to do those, unlike the partnership or anything else. So there's a lot of play there, guys. We will talk more in detail again about all this stuff in that workshop so you guys can really clearly understand it. Again, if you are if you have one type of a business structure, you could always change it. All right. So those are my 3 points today. All right. So guys, just to recap, we're talking about why your business structure matters. 3 points today. One of the things is the management structure. First point, if you are a sole proprietor, you're the only one there, right? You make all your decisions. You choose to sign liability, loans, documents. You can do whatever it is that you want. You don't have to confer with anybody. And if you are a partnership or any type of corporation, you have other people involved with the business, you got to have a roundtable meeting. You guys have to decide on it. You have to decide what you're going to do, what decisions are going to be made, what contracts you're going to take, what liability you may sign on. Everyone has to decide on this when you're operating as a partnership or as a corporation, right? Because that's the management structure. More people are involved. All right. Second point is the liability. The part that gets a little scary for some folks, but every business has a liability risk. We know that. I mean, you have one just as an individual, you know what I mean? So every business have more of a liability risk, more exposure there. More so if you are a sole proprietor or a partnership, that liability will come to you as the owner, as the partner. Personal liability, your personal assets can be seized and take care of those debt if that is the case. So that business structure as a sole proprietor, as a partnership, there is more exposure, right? There's more exposure to any type of liability. As a corporation, if you're operating that way, it's a whole separate entity. It's responsible for all its debts, and all the liability stays within that corporation. There's that liability protection umbrella that everyone talks about. And so it changes the whole dynamic of how that liability works. Okay, it stays within the corporation. Third point, again, your taxes and fees is the third point. Taxes is one of the things that we always have to obviously talk about because it's there, and especially if you're running a business, fees varies according to what type of business structure you're running. Those fees vary, and the taxes, as a sole proprietor, as a partnership, as a LLC, you are responsible to pay the taxes on all the profits, because those entities for the Internal Revenue Service is not considered a separate entity. You've got to pay the taxes. Those businesses does not pay federal income tax. As a corporation, though, the corporation pays its own taxes. It's its own person. Now, you as the person running it, or management officer, whatever you are for that company, you can work for it as an employee. You get your paycheck. And when dividends are distributed to you, that's when you pay personally on those taxes. However, the corporation pays its own taxes because it's its own person, and it operates independent of you. All right. I hope that's clear enough for everybody. All right. So I'm not going to make this any more complex again, guys. So those are the 3 points I wanted to make today, why your business structure matters. Again, I want to make it clear. It doesn't matter what structure you're operating on as now, because I always tell folks, get started. If you don't get started, you won't get finished. If you have to start as a sole proprietor, however you get started, we can always change the business structure. There's no reason why you shouldn't get started because you don't know what business structure you want to operate in. Some people are like, I don't know what to do. Get started, and we can change your business structure as you go along and see what fits your business. All right. So with that said, I want to invite you guys to sign up for the workshop. Sign up for the workshop on April 21st. I'm going to teach you guys how to run and operate, how to get it started, how to build, how to operate your own business. We'll get more into the business structure so you understand which one is more beneficial to you. And of course, we'll be able to form those business structures for you as we go along, depending on which one works better for you, right? And that's some of the stuff we'll talk about. You guys will have the option to ask personal questions in terms of how to run and operate that business so you can get it right. You're not going to be alone. You're not going to be by yourself. We're going to make sure you get it right. Again, like I said, PROBY'S Tax and Accounting, been in business for over 35 years. We have helped a lot of business started operating. Now they're making millions of dollars. They have started several other types of businesses, and you guys can do exactly the same thing, all right? Exactly the same thing. As long as you put enough into it, you're going to get a lot out of it. All right. So go to elainesdesk.com, guys, elainesdesk.com, and sign up for the workshop on April 21st. There's some people who've already signed up, so go there and you will have a lot of information. Lerner Smith says, loving this class. Knowledge is power. I am on the workshop. I am smart, so smart, thanks to PROBY'S Tax. She says she's smart, so smart, thanks to PROBY'S Tax. And this is great. I love to hear these stories. And, I've talked to a lot of people who, like I said, you can read a lot of books. There's a lot of videos, different things that you can watch and go over the same thing. But you guys all know that sometimes it's just the way it's been delivered. I try to make it very clear and very simple. And if there's any questions, we try to answer those. Looking forward to the workshop. All right, Margie, looking forward to seeing you there as well. All right, that's beautiful. Karen, I know I will see you in the workshop as well. Well, Meek, you should be in that workshop too. We're going to see you guys all in the workshop. Okay, so with that said, you guys, again, this is tax time. PROBY'S Tax and Accounting is here to assist you. If you guys have not filed your taxes and it's getting down to the countdown, make sure, I always say this, that you get an extension in. At PROBY'S Tax and Accounting, it's getting down to the deadline. However, you can check out our website at probystax.com. We do taxes for people all over the country. It doesn't matter where you are. We can make it happen. You don't have to leave. Everything is automated. Or you can call our office at 290-323-290-9034. And so we maybe get an extension in for you, and you will have some time to compile your documents so that you can file your taxes later. However, the key is to file an extension, especially if you think you're going to owe taxes, right? So with that said, you guys, I want you all to have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. This week just flew on by. Have a fabulous weekend, and you guys take care of each other and take care of yourself. Thank you. Bye-bye.